Rolex is one of the most expensive watch brands and considered the most valuable luxury watch brand in the world. So if you want to know what makes Rolex brand so special, then please stay tuned. Hi guys, this is Jose Enrico from Modern Luxury, and today let's talk about the top 10 most expensive Rolex of all time. And before we get started, make sure you click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos. At our number 10, 1950 Rolex Perpetual Sleeping Beauty. Made back in 1950, the stainless steel Rolex Perpetual showed up at Christie's in New York in 2013 with only a $250,000 to $350,000 pre-sale estimate. The previously nicknamed Padalone earned itself a new nickname, Sleeping Beauty, right after it broke records and got sold for an unbelievable $1.14 million. It is also one of the most complicated watches Rolex ever made, featuring a triple date and moon phase display, and they only made 1,000 pieces of the 1950 Rolex Perpetual. Number 9. 1949 Rolex Oyster Perpetual. The 1949 Rolex Oyster Perpetual was auctioned in 2014 and was sold for $1.22 million at Christie's auction house in Geneva. The 1949 Rolex Oyster Perpetual with a cloison enamel dial became the most expensive Rolex watch ever to be sold. The 18-karat gold model style depicts a ship sailing on rough seas that features a whale as well. 1949 Rolex Oyster Perpetual was one of the oldest and rarest Rolex watches around, and its rarity sure shows in the price that anonymous buyer finally paid. Number 8. Eric Clapton's 1971 Oyster Albino Cosmograph Daytona. The Eric Clapton's 1971 Oyster Albino Cosmograph Daytona was first auctioned by Sotheby's in New York back in 2003 for a mere $505,000 US. The 1971 Oyster Albino Cosmograph Daytona, which at some point belonged to the notorious musician Eric Clapton, was sold again in 2015 at a Phillips auction in Geneva for a more than double $1.4 million. The rare edition of this Rolex Cosmograph Daytona was nicknamed Albino due to its unique silvered chronograph totalizer, one of the 4 that ever existed, and the price was boosted by the fact that this was once on the wrist of Eric Clapton, who had bought it at some point in the 1990s. Number 7. 1969 Paul Newman's Oyster Soto Cosmograph Daytona. One of only 2 known Oyster Soto that ever existed is the 1969's Paul Newman's Cosmograph Daytona. Is unique and unusual in the fact that the word oyster appears underneath the Rolex and Cosmograph words on the dial, as opposed to most other models where it stands in between. Considered a dream watch for collectors, one of which time added a wonderful patina on chocolate brown on its stainless steel bracelet and stunning dial. The legendary watch was sold at a Phillips auction in 2016 for a less than $2 million price tag. Number 6. 1942 Rolex AntiMagnetic Split Seconds Chronograph. The 1942 Rolex Chronograph is part of an old collection of 12 watches of this kind, which makes it one of the rarest Rolex timepieces you could ever find on Earth. The 44mm manually wound split-second chronograph is encased in a stainless steel, and it's the largest watch Rolex ever made. The 1942 Rolex Chronograph was never released to the public. The 12 pieces of the collection were given to a select group of race drivers, out of which only 8 are known to be still in existence today. It was first auctioned in 2013 at Christie's for $1.16 million. But with most of the collection probably lost in the mist of time, it shouldn't be surprising anyone that the same watch surfaced again in 2016 when it was sold for a record-breaking $2.5 million at Phillips Geneva. Number 5. 1958 Rolex GMT Master. Beating the old record by $1 million, the 1958 Rolex GMT Master was auctioned at Phillips Geneva in May 2016 for a surpassing $3.5 million. This one is clad in 18-karat gold and features a stunning bakelite cognac brown bezel. It has been preserved in its original state by all the previous owners and serviced a few years ago for a first sale, but at that time, the price didn't make it among the remarkable ones. Number 4. 1969 Paul Newman Daytona, The Legend. Nicknamed The Legend, the 1969 Paul Newman Oyster Cosmograph Daytona was another extremely valued Rolex timepiece that exceeded all expectations and one of the only 3 confirmed and ever known by the public. It was sold at Phillips auction in Geneva in May 2017 for $3.7 million. What's so special about it is the yellow gold case and bracelet with the sublime lemon grenade dial and black sub-dials being one of the only 3 confirmed in existence and one of the only 2 of them in yellow gold. This Paul Newman Daytona, it's worthy of its nickname, the Legend. Number 3, 1954 Bo Dai Rolex. The 1954 Bo Dai Rolex Oyster Perpetual was sold for $5.1 million. It was specially crafted back in 1954 for Bo Dai, the last reigning emperor of Vietnam, whose name means the keeper of greatness. The watch is special not only because of its original owner, but also through the fact that it's the only one of its kind, made of 18-karat gold, outfitted with a black dial and diamond indexes, and featuring a triple calendar with moon phase indicator. Number 2, 1971 Rolex Daytona, the Unicorn. The 1971 Rolex Daytona, the Unicorn, is the only one of its kind ever created. The Unicorn is the only Rolex Daytona crafted in 18-karat white gold. Other versions came in 18-karat yellow gold or 14-karat yellow gold, specially crafted for the North American market. But this is the only one known to have been in white gold, and it's gorgeous. Sold in May last year at a Phillips auction for a good $5.9 million. It took the 2nd position from the 1954 Bo Dai on the list of the top 10 most expensive Rolex watches of all time. Number 1, Paul Newman's 1968 Cosmograph Daytona. The Paul Newman's 1968 Cosmograph Daytona isn't just the most important Rolex timepiece ever sold. It is also the most exotic, sought after, and expensive, raising an unbelievable $17.8 million at a New York auction in October 2017. After a short but intense 12-minute battle between bidders, Paul Newman, the legendary Oscar-winning actor who gave the name of this world-famous Rolex watch collection and also the original owner of the 1968 Cosmograph Daytona, and gave it to his daughter's college boyfriend at that time, James Cox, and after the watch was considered missing by some vintage watch collectors, but resurfaced when it was spotted by one collector on James Cox's wrist, who decided to auction it a few years later. That's it for today, guys. If you want to see more about celebrities or other luxurious lifestyles, please do check the other videos on this channel and consider hitting on like, subscribe, and share to be updated on our latest videos. See you in our next video.